Hey, Michelle here from Sensate Soul, as well as the Soul Translator. And I'm just having a moment here, hanging out on the river and on the beach after, actually really honestly, I'm just collecting myself a bit here because my dog spontaneously went blind the last week, my 12-year-old dog, so it's a rare condition that anyway, it's a tough thing to process, and being HSP and being very, very connected with my animals, it's just really tough. So, but I didn't get on this video to talk about that. What I actually do want to talk about is emotions and HSPs and those who are on the spectrum. Particularly, I want to speak a little bit about Greta Thunberg, the Swedish environmental activist, a 16-year-old gal who is making history with who she is and what she's fighting for. So if we are new to each other, I have Sensate Soul and work with helping people increase their sensitivity, and also for empowerment in life and business, as well as for entrepreneurs, those who are working with their empathic creative abilities and are also wanting to create businesses and lives that really play on their strengths. And I also specialize in supporting and helping to empower empaths and HSPs. So as you have probably also noticed in the news and in social media, there has been plenty of amazing coverage on Greta Thunberg and what she's doing with addressing the UN about climate situations, and she's extremely passionate about this. And if you don't know her yet, I don't know what rock you're living under, but do look her up. Because she's definitely making history. And but the thing I want to talk about here is also the backlash that she has been getting from a lot of people, a lot of politicians, around using her Aspergers, using who she is, basically criticizing her and calling her different names, a certain amount of, definitely a lot of bullying going on social media from certain people around who she is and how she shows up in the world. And this is one of those things that, I'm obviously a huge advocate for HSPs, as being one as well, and empaths. And I guess what I want to say here is that it's really been hitting me in watching some of the backlash and name calling and calling her mentally ill, and a lot of the different things that people are saying, not the people that matter, I'm sorry to say that, but that's just they're just reacting immaturely. And but it really, it has really pulled on my heartstrings, and also helped me even more so take out my empath HSP warrior shield and sword, because what is happening is very clearly the stigma against her, the name calling, the bullying, is because she's an HSP. And HSPs are some of the most misunderstood. We are some of the most misunderstood people on the planet. We do only make up 20% of the planet's population, and true empaths are only about 5%. And being autistic or Aspergers, both of those are all on the HSP, highly sensitive person spectrum of neurodiversity. So when we're talking about autism and Asperger's, we're actually speaking about HSPs. That's the bigger umbrella that they fit under. There are people on the spectrum of that, as there are people that are on the spectrum of each Asperger's and autism. So, there are classifications and types within the spectrum, and within those classifications and types, there's a spectrum within them as well. So there's this whole thing about autism, people who have autism, and people who have Asperger's, who are Aspergeristic, I don't know what the word would be, who are autistic, are incapable of showing emotions. And you know, that is just one of the biggest misconceptions, because you know, but that's also where things get a little confused, because an HSP is somebody who's usually generally highly emotional, but it gets shut down and turned off for many different reasons. And there are people who are autistic, and also people who are Aspergers, who have difficulty showing emotions. But there are also those who are perfectly fine with showing emotions, and we saw this very much so in the video of when Greta, you know, spoke to the UN in New York, and when she's, you know, wearing the pink shirt and everything, and she was highly emotional. And that emotion, when it does come out, is deep and raw and rich and passionate. And that's an aspect of being highly sensitive. Because, you know, I think about all of the times probably when she's been in front of the camera or in some sort of way, you know, visible, highly visible, where she has been very much probably containing her highly emotional nature. So the way that, you know, the mind works is one thing, in the sense of, like she says herself, a black and white thinking, and, you know, particular nuances or extremes of certain cognitive styles. But the emotionality is so there. So I guess I wanted to, little dog, I wanted to just bring this up because, be in my face. Because when we're speaking about, very deservedly so, speaking of her as a hero, and speaking of, you know, idealizing this incredible soul who's stepping up and being who she is, exactly who she is, we need to remember that she is a highly sensitive person. She is an HSP, and that is something that I'm totally celebrating, because that shows the power of people. You know, she shows the power of people on the HSP neurodiversity spectrum, and she's freaking changing the world with who she is. And so often people think that HSPs and empaths are not able to do that, or don't have the backbone to be so empowered and visible, and it's just absolutely so off base. But here's the thing, is that some of that misconception is because empaths and HSPs, we believe it ourselves, because, you know, when you're not given much of a voice, or you feel like you can't have a voice, or you're criticized for your voice and for who you are, you know, there's all the self-doubt and all of the mindsets that come in with that. But so of course it's like we all have to do our own work. So I'm just so grateful that that Greta is doing her thing, and I really wanted to just call this piece out because it needs to be acknowledged as well. It needs to be highly visible and celebrated, and that she is an HSP that is changing the world with who she is. So I hope that that will encourage you as an HSP and empath to change the world as who you are. I know it has, even more so for me. So, and I also really want, and I also really want it to be said, and I'd love to see actually more coverage in all of social media about her actually being a highly sensitive person on the neurodiversity spectrum, because that's not being talked about enough, I feel. So I want to say something about it, and I just did. All right, thanks so much for watching this video, and if you like it, please do give a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, as well share with a friend if you feel so called to do so, and do come on over to Sensate Soul and find out what is available for you for sensitivity and empowerment in life and business. And so much love. See you in the next video.